What is up? My name is JuveyD, and I am a diamond level Duelyst player. And what I'm creating here is a top 5 list for what I think the best decks are in Duelyst right now for climbing the ranked ladder. I'm going to go ahead and give a warning that this channel, or at least the setup, was largely inspired by Pantsar Dragon. He's a League of Legends YouTube channel. I definitely recommend that you check him out. And I'm hoping that this will help both new players and veterans alike climb the ladder and get a little bit better at Duelyst. Without further ado, let's get straight into the decks. So coming in at number 5 is this Abyssian deck that I see a lot of people playing right now with the general Cassiva, and basically the idea is that you just spam Shadow Creep. You get as many Shadow Creep spaces as you can until you get to 7 mana, and then you drop Shadow Nova on the enemy general, and all the units surrounding it die, and you do a ton of damage. It's cool in theory, however, I feel that it's a bit draw reliant. It's a very expensive deck with a lot of legendaries in it. It feels combo reliant, and aggro, which is really popular in the current meta, hurts it so bad because it relies so much on its late game scaling. I don't think it's consistent. It has a fairly low win rate from what I can see, but if you have the legendaries, then give it a try and see if it works out a little bit better for you. Other than that, I wouldn't recommend this deck building it from scratch. Number 4 is the mid-game monster himself, Magmar. Specifically Vath. I love his Bloodborne spell. Being able to power up your general and then throw Adamite Claws on can deal a lot of damage. Be warned that that can be dispelled off your general, so if you build up like 5 attack throughout the course of the game, they can knock it all out in one turn. But he dominates the mid-game. He has a lot of removal, eggs are annoying, and he scales nicely into late game as long as you set the board up properly. However, with growth and eggs and all that other stuff, he is weak to AoE Dispel, he is vulnerable to early game aggro, and this deck is pretty expensive. I feel he's better than Lionar, who also tries to build for the mid-game. I've just seen more consistency with this deck, but he does have a somewhat low win rate. If you have the cards for this, it can be a lot of fun, and you can definitely climb the ladder, but it's definitely not the best out there. Okay, honestly, I thought I was going to rank this deck at number 5, but after watching over 100 games of other players using it, I had to move it up to 3 because it keeps winning, and it's so cheap, especially compared to the other decks. This is the Songhai spell spam, and the objective of it is just to spam spells on the enemy general, maintain board control, and kite. Keep moving back, keep getting Phoenix Fires with your Lantern Fox, and get the enemy general down to 8 health so you can finish them off with a Spiral Technique or more Phoenix Fires. It's an easy win condition. The biggest mistake you can make is using Phoenix Fires to control the board. You do not want to do that. It has a ton of burst. It's probably the second best aggro deck out there right now. And if you're into Songhai, if you have some of the cards already, it shouldn't cost you that much to make. It's a bit draw reliant, and it can be countered by heal, and the late game is weak. But I still think this is definitely one of the best strategies in the game right now. Wow, that is a lot of units. Coming in at number 2 is the new Vanar General, Kara. And the idea behind this deck is to take a lot of creatures that are normally really good with their opening gambits or their abilities, but have kind of weak stats to make up for it, and then you buff them with her Bloodborne spell, which for 1 mana gives +1/+1 to every creature in your hand. Obviously with that, you don't want to have a lot of spells in your hand because you can't buff the spells, so one weakness to this deck is that, yes, it doesn't have a lot of spells. You have some hard removal, but other than that, you don't have a lot to work with. But you have so many creatures that you can just buff. This deck, I encourage you try some varieties of it if you don't like the creatures I have listed, or if you just don't have those cards. You can add a lot of different creatures to this deck and still be very efficient and very successful with it. It's got such a strong mid and late game spike. It is countered by aggro, and it can be tricky to manage your mana, but otherwise I think this is just a beast deck. You might notice that I do not have Third Wish in this deck. Listen, if you have 3 copies of Third Wish, or even 1 or 2, sure, throw it in this deck. It is a good card. But since the nerfs, I don't think it's as necessary as it used to be, because now it gives flying instead of blast. This makes it much cheaper, and I still think the Vitruvian aggro deck is the best in the game, running Xerix as your general, with or without Third Wish. It's insane aggro. It can do so much damage to a general in a very short period of time. I've seen games go as short as 3 or 4 turns on the Diamond and S rank level. It's cheap. It's a great way to climb the ladder. If you're looking for a deck to get you to Gold, Diamond, even S rank, I couldn't recommend a deck higher than I recommend this one. And that's my top 5 list. Please keep in mind that the meta is in a very healthy place right now in Duelyst, so you might be running one of these decks with different units or different spells, and that's totally okay. I was just trying to create variances that were as cheap as humanly possible, although some of those decks were kind of expensive. Please feel free to leave a comment with feedback. I'll respond to every single comment, and if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. I suppose if you didn't like it, you could also give it a thumbs down. And make sure you subscribe to my channel so you can check out future videos. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed your time.